Well, we think they're going to be around the 45,000 won range for a while. But the good news is that there's huge demand for artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain that's actually pulling on the chip side. And so we think that most people are thinking that the chip side is going to take a downbeating, but actually we think it's going to grow because there's a huge growth in terms of server usage, data usage, in terms of usage of existing devices.
What about all these concerns about it's a DRAM business? What's your outlook on that for the second half of this year?
It is a DRAM business and a NAND business and most of the chip side. We think that that's going to pretty much carry most of what they're doing, but you can also see that their operating margins are actually growing. It's a 17% operating margin growth, and that's actually very interesting, especially on the chip side. And so that means they're being more efficient on the chip side, and they can only hope for the phone business to come back, but the phone business has been flat in most places, and especially in China, where they're taking a hit. They're now number 6 in the marketplace in terms of phone sales.
No, it's an interesting mix, isn't it, for Samsung Electronics? So it may not be able to sell its own phones, but it gets also hit when other smartphone makers don't do well. Because when we think about it, like weak smartphone sales overall, that could also hit Samsung Electronics, for example, display business, OLED business.
That's true, and the OLED business is taking a hit, especially given that Apple has reduced its usage on the $100 OLED displays. They've actually talked about that the next iPhone is actually going to use less OLED components and just going back to the traditional LCD displays. So that may take a hit as well in terms of the downward pressure. But the other side of the chip business is the part that becomes interesting, especially with augmented reality, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, again, and blockchain. We think that the data server, data side of the business is actually a little bit bigger than most people are actually forecasting.
And Ray, we're about 22 minutes into this trade war between China and the United States with the latest round of Trump administration's import tariffs on China. How does that work for South Korea's exporters, chip makers, and Samsung Electronics?
I think everyone's going to be watching that with some caution. I think it's really about who's going to blink first. But I think that in the long run, I think the trade war areas are going to be signed in bilateral agreements. I think China and U.S. will eventually figure out what's going on and how they're going to work with each other. But Samsung, for the most part, is going to be shielded, not necessarily because they don't pass through China in terms of their chips and their technology as much as the U.S. might. And so I think that they should be okay. But I think we're all waiting to see how big of a trade war we're going to be into and who's going to blink first.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.